Hey guys, welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to install the Zippa Lite Chainguide and Bashguard on my bike, test it with some enduro racing, and see if it's worth buying. So if you've been a long-time viewer of the channel, you probably remember the Pisgah Enduro last year, where I had that chain drop that completely ruined my race day. If you're new to the channel, welcome. So you know how things always work except when it's the most important? Well, that's been the case for me with my chain dropping. It basically never drops. But in those key situations where I'm racing and it's one of those moments where you really don't want to stop to get off of the bike, that is where I've had issues.
Oh shit. I dropped the chain and it got stuck behind the cassette. Can't get it out, so that's it for my competitive race. I got the chain out. I'm going chainless.
So I decided to get a chain guide. Dropper went up by itself. That's weird. So I decided to go ahead and get a chain guide, and since I'm doing that and it's an ISCG05, install a Bashguard. Now, I have a theory where some things you're supposed to spend a ton of money on and get the best of the best, and for some others, just good, simple, reasonably priced works well. And that's my theory behind getting stuff from Funn. So I got their Zippa Lite Chainguide and Taco Bashguard with the idea that this is not very expensive and it seems to work very well from everything I've seen. So I'm gonna install these on my YT Jeffsy and put them to the test. So the design behind these is fairly simple. You basically get an ISCG05 type mount, and they do sell them with other type mounts, like for the E-type for your front derailleur or things like that. In my case, my bike uses this one, so this is obviously what I got. And just a little chain guide that you can push up and down. This is super, super light. And then the Taco Bashguard, one thing that I liked about it is that you get the Bashguard with the mounting thing to install it, and kind of goes like this, so they work together. And Zippa actually includes an extra Bashguard right off the get-go. So a second one if you do hit the first one. So I think that's great, because most of the other brands that I saw, you do get the replacements available, but it doesn't include it in the price. And one thing that I do like, there is Loctite, the blue thing, on the threads already, so that when you put it in there, it doesn't vibrate off. And that was something that I was gonna do anyways if this didn't bring it. So it's one less thing to do and one step to skip. So an obvious concern with things like this is how much weight is this gonna add to my bike? And well, Zippa says that this is 30 grams and this is 65 grams. So I have a little scale here, and we're gonna test that to see if it's true. Okay, so here we go. Reset, 0 grams, and then chain guide, Bashguard, and the 3 bolts that go on there. And that is 93. So it's supposed to be 95, and my guess is that once I place 1 or 2 of these tiny little spacers in there, it's gonna make up for the 2 grams difference. That is, for a metal Bashguard and chain guide, super, super light. In case you're wondering, that's 0.205 pounds. So if you have a 30-pound bike, the difference is minimal. So the kit comes with a good set of instructions. Despite watching this video, read through these. They're actually good. They're well done. They're gonna solve a lot of the questions you may have. And if your install is slightly different from mine, the answer is in here. But in general, the way that this works is that we're going to install the chain guide first using only the top bolt. In order to do that, we're first gonna remove this top part so that this isn't in the way. Now, because of the design of my chain ring, I can actually install all this stuff without removing the crankset. I think that's gonna be the case for most one buys. If you have a very different chain ring, maybe you can't, but in general, it should be doable. Then once that is installed, we're supposed to install the Bashguard. So as you can probably tell, there's not much space here for me to work, so I'm gonna flip my bike over and we're gonna start to work on that. So something that you're gonna notice as you install is that you're gonna have to spin your cranks to get access to all the bolts. One of them is this one, the other one is this one, and then the last one is this one. You should be able to do the installation without removing the cranks. So the chain guide goes something like this. Now the only thing that you're gonna need to do this whole installation process is just a 4mm Allen. And the 4mm Allen will allow you to take this part off first, and then also all the bolts are 4mm Allens as well. So you're gonna grab your thing like this and install the top point of the mount. Right now you're not looking to be very precise. I'm still leaving space for adjustment there. And now I'm gonna install the Taco Bashguard. Because what I want is everything to move together now so that I can adjust this angle and I can place the actual chain guide in the correct position wherever I want. So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be here yet or if it's supposed to be here or up or down. So we're gonna adjust that as we go. We're gonna use spacers behind the Bashguard. So on the right side, I'm gonna use the 2mm spacer, and on the left side, I'm gonna use the angled spacer. The reason we're using the angled spacer is because the angled spacer goes in here. And that basically is gonna give you that flat, flush mount there. Because the Bashguard then goes on top of this, as so. Of course, I'm supposed to not drop that spacer, but you get the idea. Okay, so now that we have the front of the Bashguard in, as you can tell, still everything is pretty loose, and that's on purpose, because I want to line everything up once all the pieces are installed. Okay, so I inserted all 3 bolts. I don't know if they're in the right position, but as you can see, this is above the chain, which is exactly what we want. Now we just got to figure out the chain guide position here. And I place the red backside of this bolt over there, hold it through the back, connect this, and then just insert this over here. Now the idea is that we're gonna have to push this up as much as possible so that it holds the chain in place, but you don't wanna go this far, because if you go this far, then as you can see, the chain is gonna rub all the time. So it's about finding that good balance there. So it's not exactly easy to spot, but if you can see right here, it says 36. So mine is a 32, so we're gonna go up to 34 and then 32, which is that little line right there. Too much. There. That is theoretically good. So we're gonna tighten it up and see if nothing rubs to start. So there are 2 problems right now with my alignment. So I don't know if it's audible, but let's try. And that is because this thing is too far up. So we have to separate it a tiny bit from here. But before I do that, I actually identified another issue. And the other issue, which I'm trying to show you in this very weird angle, is that the chain is not in the middle of the guide. So it should be kind of like this, and it's like this. So we're gonna have to add some spacers here so that we can separate the whole guide this way just a tiny bit. And this is something that's actually mentioned in the instructions. So there you see the little spacers that we're looking for. And this is what they look like. And we're gonna place as many as we need. Visually on the chain and the separation, I'm just gonna go for 3 because I feel like it, and we'll try. So that seems to be the install done. Now I'm just gonna tighten all the bolts to the specs that I was given, just to make sure everything is nice and snug. See over here, there's not enough space for the chain to leave the teeth. So if it can't do that, it can't find its way to either side of the chain ring, which means it should not pop out. So at least from a theoretical perspective, I'm happy with the position that this is in, and I'm just gonna leave it like this, but the only way to know for sure is to ride it and to see what happens. It's not 100% invisible, but I think it's a very clean install. And that peace of mind is really worth it to me. So in order to see if this setup is any good, I'm racing the Not So Fast Enduro in Birmingham, Alabama this weekend at Oak Mountain State Park. So let's go riding. We ended up doing 3 days of awesome riding in Alabama, split between Oak Mountain and Coldwater Mountain. 2 of these were just for fun, and 1 day was for an enduro race. Between the 3, we totaled 75 miles and 7,500 feet of vert. It's enough for me to consider this a valid test. During those, I put the bike through a bunch of situations that I think properly tested the setup in all reasonable riding environments, including dry and wet weather riding. Sequential hits in rocky terrain, slow tech, pedally areas, drops, and high speed, including some mistimed jumps, did nothing to the chain. I never had any drops, weird noises, nor any other issues. Of course I wasn't going to purposefully bash into any rocks out there, but I did have one small hit, and it protected the chainring perfectly fine.
Well, just used the Bashguard for the first time. So I have to say, so far, we've ridden really hard in a bunch of places with lots of roots and lots of bounciness. Absolutely no chain issues. Now, I'll be honest. As I told you at the beginning of the video, my chain doesn't drop often. It's something that's really only for extreme cases. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure was that it wouldn't be a hindrance in other scenarios. Like, yeah, it doesn't make the chain fall off, but it makes a bunch of noise. And that did not happen, so I'm very happy.
Conditions on race day were quite muddy. I messed up and I forgot to get video of the chainring and guide under those conditions. But you can see how dirty the bike got in these pictures, and I never had any issues with the chainring, the guide, and mud. While the short rock garden looks like nothing at speed, if we slow the video down a lot, you get to see how much the chain is bouncing around as the bike skips over the rocks. The derailleur clutch and the chain guide together do an amazing job of keeping everything secure. Last but not least, I wanted to get a bit better of a test for the Bashguard. I found this log which was starting to get soft, so I decided I was going to land a hop just a tad short on purpose. The Bashguard took the impact without any contact from the chainring or the bottom bracket, behaving exactly like we expected. As you can see, I can still fit my finger under the chainring, so no contact there. It's all landed on top of the Bashguard, so success. Well guys, there you have it. I've now put enough rides in to have a solid opinion on this, and I am very happy with the performance so far. This is something that I think the value is really good, and it's behaved perfectly. The chain guide, it's like it's not there. The chain doesn't drop, it doesn't make any noise. It's exactly what I want. And the Bashguard behaved beautifully in the limited testing that I did. So for me, definite thumbs up. The value is good, and I think if you're looking for a chain guide and Bashguard combo, this is one that you should definitely put on your short list. If you enjoyed this video, I have a bunch more stuff on the channel. That's reviews and also just, plain old fun on bikes and trips and things like that. So consider checking out the rest of the channel. If you enjoy a video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, whatever. Let me know if you enjoyed them or not. Anyhow, I hope to see you for the next video, and happy riding.